Order in the court.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I come before you today to prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, the exact location where the U.S. government lured UAPs into a highly coordinated and documented trap. The FBI tried to hide this location behind a thick wall of black ink. Members of Congress like Representative Burleson know the truth, but they abide by a strict no-snitching policy. In other words, they won't tell you where it happened, but I will. The prosecution argues that this game-changing event took place at a sensitive testing facility in the western United States officially known as Dugway Proving Ground, but commonly referred to in UFO lore as Area 52.
Area 52.
Officially designated as the Dugway Proving Ground, this military facility covers an astounding 1,250 square miles of the Great Salt Lake Desert.
A location where a currently serving senior intelligence official had multiple close-up and personal encounters with orb-like UFOs that Representative Burleson said changed everything.
This is when the whole conversation changed, because that event was one that no one could deny. There were so many people that witnessed these things. And these were all credible people working in our top intelligence sector.
If you're not familiar with this case, check out the recreation I made about it. But in short, at the end of 2025, a high-ranking government official went to an unnamed sensitive military facility and became a first-hand witness to a series of UFO sightings that left him and his helicopter crew speechless. Now, let's take a look at the facts of this case. I direct the court's attention to the witness testimony available on war.gov/UFO, which allows us to separate the clues into these three categories. Exhibit A, Reoccurring UFO Morphologies. Dugway has been talked about as a UFO hotspot for a long time. How long is a long time, you ask? Well, look at how youthful Richard Dolan was when he was talking about the types of UFOs seen at Dugway.
Dugway has a history which continues to this day of interesting UFO sightings. This doesn't include simply craft, but also things like orangish red orbs, for example.
Notice how he mentioned orangish orbs while a recreation played of several UAPs that were shown moving in every direction. Well, in the FBI 302 investigation, the witness describes watching a swarm of lights, too many to count, moving in all directions in the night sky for approximately 9 minutes. Interesting for sure, but maybe it's just a coincidence. Next, the intelligence official described a very close encounter with two large orbs, which sounds similar to what Richard Dolan described, that put on a light show directly over the helicopter the official was riding in. But as the UAP encounter continued to unfold, the orbs began to repeat a pattern. The orbs flared up one at a time in a horizontal formation, and after approximately 10 seconds, they flared down one by one. Compare that description to the footage captured over Dugway Proving Ground by researcher Dave Rosenfeld, who later broke down the footage with Ben Hansen on UFO Witness.
They make a line.
That's incredible. I can see the light shifting and moving, not like a flare. It's not like appearing. It's actually moving and changing position.
Yeah, there's multiple lights here, and then you watch it kind of make a line and then kind of turn.
How odd.
A horizontal line of blazing orbs flaring up, holding, and disappearing in an exact chronological sequence. The visual fingerprint of these sightings is identical. Exhibit B, UFO Luring or Baiting Tactics. Was this a random encounter or a setup? Thanks to recent comments by Jordan Flowers, the executive director of the Disclosure Foundation, we suspect that the senior intelligence officials' encounters with the orbs were not random at all. Instead, it appears that the military actually lured them in.
The December 2025 incursion in the southwestern United States over a sensitive military facility, the ODNI was conducting, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence was conducting a UAP luring operation.
The claim of luring these orbs in to interact with the intelligence official was also attested to by Representative Burleson in an interview he gave in April.
I was briefed on an event that occurred where they basically tried to set up a perfect case scenario where that would cause UAP to come in, and then to capture them or to try to document them or record them. And it was very successful.
And it just so happens that Dugway Proving Grounds is also rumored to be home to a laser-based UFO baiting system that was witnessed to have lured 5 orbs in, which were even documented in pictures by Dave Rosenfeld.
Here's the first time it fired. And then the second time it fired, these blue lights came down and like surrounded this beam, almost like they were watching. This is going through the cloud and into space, and I think that's what got the attention of these visitors.
But claims of baiting UFOs both inside and outside of the United States aren't new. As early as October 2020, Lue Elizondo was asked on Twitter if U.S. naval ships were being used as bait for UFOs, to which he replied by saying that he couldn't comment at the moment, but encouraged us to keep asking the question because it is a very important one. Shortly after that, in February of 2021, while on the Sarah Carter Show, Lue was asked again about luring UFOs. But specifically, he was asked to respond to claims about the Russian military calling in UAPs that were made by a former Soviet Air Force general, Vasyl Alexeyev, who said,
"Experiments were conducted very successfully in order to cause them to appear."
In order to cause them to appear. Do you believe what he is saying the Russians have done?
To answer simply, yes, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with that assessment. The problem is the how. I suspect that, with a clever group of folks, you could probably come up with ways to test that theory and see if there's a way to quote unquote lure these out.
Additionally, in his book titled Imminent, Lue also detailed a proposed government-sponsored honeypot scheme called Project Interloper, a project that was proposed to use a naval nuclear-powered fleet to draw in UFOs in order to document and collect information on them. So it sounds like the government has a few techniques for calling in UFOs, including a nuclear honeypot like Project Interloper, as well as the rumors of using human psionic assets and maybe even a ground-based laser asset at Dugway. Exhibit C, Geographical Similarities. Let's map out the crime scene. From the FBI 302 interview, we know that we're looking for a sensitive government testing installation in the western United States. The report states that a helicopter flew west from the operations center to investigate strange booming sounds that appeared to come from a nearby mountain range. Well, if we head directly west from Dugway, we find a mountain range named Granite Peak. While at these mountains, they observed a large cavern entrance and conducted a short orbit around it. What I've learned recently is that Dugway is actually well known to be riddled with caves and abandoned mines. So much so that in 1945, during and immediately after WW2, the Army used caves and regional mining claims at Dugway to test underground chemical munitions, flamethrowers, and explosives in an effort that was called Project Sphinx. Dugway is also accused of being home to a DUM, a deep underground military base. So a large, natural-looking cavern opening would also serve as a perfectly camouflaged entrance. According to the investigation, after refueling the helicopter, they headed 4 miles east to investigate a debris field that was observed near some mountains. And if we travel 4 miles to the east from the Dugway Control Tower, we just so happen to find ourselves at the base of another mountain range. Per the intelligence officials' comments, as the cat and mouse game between the orbs and the helicopter continued, the orbs were in view of 2 nearby local towns. And when we look at the outskirts of the Dugway Proving Grounds, there are several small towns, particularly to the east of the installation, which is where I think the bulk of the UAP encounters occurred, that would have had a clear line of sight of the orbs the intelligence official described. Lastly, look at the ridges, terrain, and foliage of the mountains in the images. They match the geography around Dugway better than any other possible contender. In closing, the eerie similarities between the U.S. intelligence officials' repeated orb encounters and the long history of UFO and anomalous activities witnessed at Dugway fit together like a hand in glove. And when combined with the geographic similarities of the area, I think it's safe to say it's case closed. Dugway is guilty of being the site of the game-changing UAP event series that has shaken the government. However, since I haven't been able to find a perfect match for this small man-made blemish on one of the mountaintops and two of the released images from the encounter, I suspect we're going to have a hung jury. So I'm asking for the help of anyone watching this video, you, to go on Google Earth and help me find a match for this unique identifier so we can make this an open and shut case. So what do you think? Did the event take place at Dugway? And if not, where do you think it actually happened? Thanks for watching.